Welcome to the Joy Meets Pain podcast. I'm your host, Dorcas. As a psychotherapist who has worked with children, couples, individuals, and families for decades, I cannot tell you how many times I've heard people say, "My family is the worst," or "I'm too embarrassed to talk about my family," or "No family is like mine." Well, guess what, listeners? All families have ishness, foolishness, happiness, shadiness, loneliness, forgiveness, hopefulness, goodness, and the list goes on. If you come from a family and are trying to navigate your family relationships, then welcome. Please keep in mind, I am not providing therapy or medical advice. And here's a heads up. Once in a while, I will curse. So if you're looking for a clean, no foul language kind of show, this is not it.
Hello and welcome to episode 37. We are talking about the flip side of adverse childhood experiences. Welcome, Tuffy. How are you? How is life? How are you treating life?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. Life is okay, it's getting warmer. And yeah, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Pushing along, but yes, no complaints at this point. All right, so let's jump into our episode. We are talking about the flip side of childhood adverse experiences, right? Usually called ACEs, and what led to this topic. So, I know attorney Ariane Jones, who works for the Aspen Institute, and she collaborated with the Campaign for Fair Sentencing of Youth to produce this intense podcast called Before They Could Dream, which is an exploration of youth justice and incarceration in the United States. Now, if you decide to listen to some of these episodes, I do warn you, it is intense, it is troubling, it is heartbreaking, it's infuriating, all of the above. And, the US, we are known for many things. We are number one in many things. One of those is also the high rates of incarceration, right? And of course,
Lovely.
as we know, primarily Black and brown individuals, right? So anyway, this podcast follows some of the youth who were incarcerated at a young age who were sentenced as adults. So you'll listen to their stories about what happened to them in their childhood. So those adverse experiences that they went through and how their lives turned out. All right, so Tafi, before I keep moving along, any questions, comments? I know um, didn't listen to the podcast. It's something I came across thanks to Attorney Jones, and so it is what prompted me to come up with this episode that we have. So do you have any questions or comments before I move on?
Not yet, but I'm sure as we go through, something will come up for sure.
Yeah. All right, all right. All right. So as I listened to the episodes, um, I started to think about my childhood, and I thought about the protective factors that helped me get to this point in life somewhat intact, right? Questionable, but somewhat intact. And I had my share of adverse childhood experiences. I'll just call them ACEs moving forward. But, however, the protective factors made a significant difference right? So when we talk about ACEs, what are they, right? So when children experience some sort of abuse, neglect, if they witness or experience violence, if they grow up in homes where substances, alcoholism, are problematic, right? Financial instability, parental distress, caregivers who themselves have experienced ACEs as well, if there is a family member who has a physical or mental illness and how that impacts the family system, right? So, how all of this takes an emotional and physical toll on the development of a child, right? Having a family member, a caregiver who is incarcerated and who is taken away from the home, and for many, especially in the US, again, they are gone for decades, right? Experiencing sexual abuse. So these are just many examples of ACEs, right? And so what we know and what we have found is protective factors. This is what can help a child get over, overcome, or function more effectively as an adult, right? And so some of those protective factors include um, stable employment and housing, access to education, living in communities, neighborhoods where there is no violence, where it is safe. Obviously community resources, involvement in the community. And for children, probably the most important factor is having someone, an adult, who provides safety for them, who is reliable, who is supportive, who's their cheerleader, right? This makes a huge difference in children who are able to cope with the ACEs that they had experienced. So always think about that. If you're a parent or a caregiver or someone who works with children, try to identify who is that person for the child. When I think of my protective factors, we had
Mm-hmm.
stable housing, so that was a good thing. Our parents owned the homes we lived in and grew up in. Our neighborhoods were very just close with neighbors, family involvement, extended families. You were always spending time with grandparents or uncles, aunts, cousins, right? So there was just a lot of community focus. But for me, when I think specifically about my home that I grew up in, I think a lot of my fondest memories, which I will identify as my protective factors, had a lot to do with music and joy, experiencing music and joy in the family. So I will share some of the
Yeah.
songs that stick out, but I want to hear from you, Taffy, as well about yours. What comes to mind when you think about your protective factors and some of your fondest childhood memories?
So protective factors, like when I go through the ones that you just mentioned, we also grew up in a stable home and we were also surrounded by community. But I also think that's the nature of African communities in general, that
Yeah,
like you said, you know the neighbors and you see relatives on a regular basis, whether that's cousins or aunties or grandparents. Um, yeah, so when it comes to protective factors, I think very similar to yours.
yeah.
And then when we talk about fun childhood memories, do you want me to name mine already, or do you wanna go
You
first?
You can, before you do, something I thought about as well is the housing
Yeah.
aspect. I hadn't given it a lot of thought, but one of the
Mm-hmm.
things that has always troubled me um, is watching people get evicted, right? And
Oh,
so
yes,
I don't
you
know
talked
if
about
it's the same in Germany, but here in America, people's possessions are put out on the street, and sometimes people are not
that.
home, even though they may know in advance that they're going to be evicted. I think it's inhumane to put a family's possessions out on the street where people can drive by, take what they want, and many of these families, again, have worked so hard to acquire what they have. So you
Yeah,
can imagine all the memories that are lost when families are evicted. The photos, the albums, um, just memorabilia, anything that has been passed on from one generation to another. So the eviction process in America is very disturbing to me, and that is something that I think also deserves its own episode because I really want to just have a better understanding of why can it not be done in a way where it doesn't cause even more trauma for families who are already at the bottom. Um, yeah, so
yeah. I, I don't know. I've never seen or witnessed an eviction here in Germany unless unless it just goes over my head, because also in Germany they do this thing where when people are moving out, they take their things out and they put them on the side, especially
yeah,
things that they don't want anymore.
yeah,
And so typically when you see furniture or things outside, those are things that have been deliberately put outside by the tenant with the intention of giving it away or with the intention of it being picked up by the garbage trucks when they come past. And
yeah,
so as far as that is concerned, I think those are the only times that I've seen belongings from
yeah,
tenants outside. I should look into that. I should look into what
yeah,
the eviction process in Germany is like, and we can
yeah,
definitely discuss that
yeah, yeah,
extensively in a different episode.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and something frequently discussed is okay, people are told in advance when they will be evicted. And so questions are asked, well, why didn't you pack sooner? Why didn't you take out what you could, right? So again, when people are going through something traumatic, difficult, challenging, there is a tendency to freeze. You cannot take action. You can't think
Yeah.
about what to do next. Money is a problem, obviously. So even if we are able to pack and take our belongings, where do we take them to? Who is going to come? Who are the movers who are going to come and load up our things? We may not even have a car to put these things in, right? So I think when people always ask the question, well, you knew you were getting evicted. Why didn't you plan ahead? It's really not that
Mm.
simple because these are people who are already struggling. If they couldn't afford to pay their rent, their mortgage, then chances are they probably don't have money to pack up and put their things in storage or somewhere else, right? But anyway, I mean, this episode is supposed to be about joy. It's supposed to be about joy. So we're gonna stay focused, but obviously, before they could dream, the podcast is what got me thinking about, what happens in childhood and how that sticks with people, right? And so you also often hear people talk about, I remember, us losing our home. And, as a result of that, I promised myself I would never go through something similar. And so people will work really, really hard to try and do the opposite of what they experienced in childhood. But anyway, today we want to talk about our protective factors, the positive things that helped us to get through life, and how we want to continue some of those positive aspects, right? So I chose three songs. I will touch on the first one, and then Taffy, you can talk about your fondest childhood memories as well. But like I said before,
Mhm.
mine and those who have listened to the podcast, in fact, I think when I put out the trailer for the podcast, my initial title was Family Therapy and Food, because food, I think,
Mhm.
it plays such a huge role in joy and pain, right? And so that was the original title of the podcast, Family, Therapy, and Food. And I took out the therapy part because I also just wanted to have a place where I could talk without thinking always about the work aspect of things. And so, but for me,
Mhm.
all my memories have a lot to do with family and food and joy and music is just a huge part of it. It continues to be a huge part of my functioning. And those who know me well know I love to dance. And those who know me well, I have this dream and hope of doing some sort of dance-a-thon or something along those lines. Because I just, I love music. I love dancing. I wish I did it on a daily basis, but I don't. So yes, when I
Do
think
you
of my,
dance in your home though?
do I dance at home?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, there are videos, so grandma, all of us will partake in dancing. And so in fact, when I was preparing for this episode, Mommy happened to come through and I played one of the songs from childhood and she started dancing. I should
Yeah.
have recorded that. But yeah, these are
Oh,
songs she's
oh,
forgotten, but they stuck with me. And
yeah.
one of them, I didn't even know the name of the group. I had to Google it in preparation for this episode because all I knew was the lyrics. And I didn't know who sang the song. And all I just remembered was so catchy, right? So the phrase, the words that I remember, I'm not a musician, I'm not a singer, but I'll sing the parts that I remember. So the song is by the
Mm-hmm.
Silhouettes, and it's called Get a Job. And so childhood memories, sha na 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 na, pagum, sha na 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 na, whoop 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 whoop, boom 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 boom, get a job. So those are the only
Ah,
lyrics
cool.
I remember, and so I typed in Google my
Yeah.
sing, and it gave me the name of the song. Um, so anyway, just happy childhood memories of being at home in Zambia and parents playing these songs on records, and listening
Mhm.
and dancing. And the other two songs, sad, but also again had an impact. And so, but for me, like we discussed earlier, you and I, we weren't even caught up in the lyrics of the song. It was just the memories that are tied to these songs, right? And this is
Absolutely.
what is, created our protective factors. So Duffy, share your fondest childhood memories.
So my fondest childhood memories are, so number one is spending weekends with family. So there was a period of time where we would, every Saturday, without fail, we would get into the car with my mom and we would drive to my grandma's house, where all the cousins also stayed, where all the Mainis stayed. And we would get there just in time for brunch-ish. So we would have tea and bread on the veranda. We would spend the whole afternoon there. We would go play. I don't know how to say it, kuseri, where the trees
Yeah,
are in the
right.
backyard, climbing
Yeah,
trees, climbing the guava tree, the mango tree,
right,
sitting on the
right.
wall. And this was a weekend thing.
Yeah.
It would
And eating the
cousin.
delicious bread, uh, delicious
Yes,
bread with
the
no
bread.
chemicals, and drinking tea from the metal cups, and the tea was burning hot. Uh,
Yes, it was the metal teapots and the metal cups.
oh gosh, and that bread, I
Yeah,
tell you, delicious
I
large
know.
bread.
So
Yeah,
that is a fun
yeah,
memory because now everyone is grown and spread
right.
out
Dispersed.
and married with
Yeah,
kids.
adulting.
Yeah, so I think that's different one.
Yeah, yeah,
I know. And then my second one is playing after school.
yeah,
So getting home after school and the parents would still be at work and then you change out of your uniform and just go frolicking outside, no shoes, again in the fruit trees. I remember we had this mulberry tree close to the gate.
yeah,
And so you could get the mulberry. We had a peach tree and just being outside, touching grass,
yeah,
simple
yeah,
things. So
yeah,
that's a fond memory of mine as
yeah,
well. And
yeah,
then my third and final one, like you, is music. So I think I've spoken about this in a
yeah,
previous episode,
yeah,
how my dad was or is a fan of rock. So I
mm,
grew up listening to the Bon Jovis, the Jimi Hendrix, Kiss, etc. And so yeah, I also have my favorite songs. I actually have a playlist of the songs that I picked up from my dad.
yeah,
Um, Especially from Bon Jovi. I'm sure you know this one, Living on a Prayer, or
yeah, yeah,
You Give Love a Bad Name. And then
yes,
the classic Tina Turner,
yeah,
What's Love Got to Do with It?
oh,
That's
yeah,
the stuff that
yeah,
would play on the week.
yeah,
Dad had the cassette, the video cassette tapes. And so we would, we would play
yeah.
those.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Yep, more memories
Yeah.
are coming, more memories are coming. Yeah, so
I
um
know. So those are my
yeah. Yeah, as you were speaking, and I think when you mentioned Tina Turner, fond memories also us we had moved to Zimbabwe by this point, but we used to go
Mhm.
to Zambia to visit an uncle and his family, Ghanaian actually. And one of the songs the adult parents loved to play was Marvin Gaye's Sexual Healing. And we were kids
Oh,
and
really?
we would be rocking to that song, girl. I mean, it is like imprinted right here, you know. And I remember as we grew, my older sister Titi loved that song as well, you know. But it's so interesting. Again, it was innocent, but it was fun. And we weren't we knew the lyrics, we knew what it was singing about, but it was such a
Yeah.
fantastic song also that it's like, and everyone is sitting in the living room, kids, adults, everyone, all ages, and the parents are playing Marvin Gaye, Sexual Healing, and it's like, oh, this is life. So yeah, music is powerful. I mean, we cannot minimize the power of music. But yes, I think two songs for me that also stood out. Jimmy Cliff, Jamaican musician, one of
Mm-hmm.
his songs, Many Rivers to Cross. And the lyrics again, I think I will put the links of all the songs in the show notes so you can listen to them if you choose to, right? But just the words of his song were also very touching. And this is a song that's been remade by so many musicians because it is just that great, right? Many rivers to cross, but I can't seem to find my way over. wandering, I am lost as I travel along the white cliffs of Dover, right? And his voice, I mean, soothing, soft, just yes, it feels like it was yesterday when I think about listening to that song. Now the other song, Clarence Carter, this song was called Patches. And as a child, I again didn't really listen to the lyrics. I knew some of them and I remember singing along. And so as I was preparing for this episode and thinking about aces, the words to this song demonstrated numerous aces that he had experienced. And Clarence Carter was blind. Um, and so Patches is about him growing up in Alabama, being made of because his clothes had patches on them. And, he said his father, Papa, used to tease him about it as well, but it was more coming from a place of pain, not to make fun of him, but more just, wow, I wish I could do better for you, my child, right? So yes, it talks
Mm,
about bullying, it talks about poverty, it talks about parentification. And so Clarence was parentified, father on his dying bed, saying, it's all left up to you. Right now, my hope is, you're the one who's going to uplift this family, right? And if I look at the lyrics of the song, it actually says, when he tried to get up, life would kick him back down. One day, Papa called me to his dying bed, put his hands on my shoulders, and in tears, he said, Patches, I'm depending on you, son, to pull the family through. My son, it's all left up to you. 2 days later, Papa passed away, and I became a man that day. Oh my God, it breaks my heart. I mean, it just makes me so sad. And these are the lives of many children who continue to experience ACEs. Their parents have no way out of some situations that they find themselves in, again, due to systemic issues. And children are parentified and put in positions where they bear this responsibility of saving their families. And I
yeah.
cannot, but I always have to tie it to my Black athletes when I watch them giving speeches and thanking God. And I did this for my family. Mama, thank you. So there's such a responsibility that Black and Brown people experience and face, immigrants. And it's not just Black athletes. I mean, people of color, primarily whose parents immigrated from another country. There's always that hope that I want to be the one to save my family. I'm not just playing for myself, I'm playing for my family, my community, my people, which is a huge burden to carry. But bringing this back to a positive note, right? So I will say for myself, I am truly thankful to have had a home and parents who loved music, who exposed me to music. Um, because it has been the one thing that has also kept all of us united and connected. Our love for music. We share songs, we reminisce over songs, even dances at different points in time, right? Watching my great niece do her dance thing to Coco Chanel, I mean, just some
Uh-huh.
powerful memories that you know, it's a privilege to have had these protective factors, and I am thankful. And so when I think about the youth and, before they could dream, who lost their childhood as a result of
Mm,
American system of incarcerating youth at a young age, Um, it is heartbreaking just to see that many children, unfortunately, do not get the same exposure and opportunities. All right, so Tafi, yours, anything else you want to add about your childhood experiences and how they helped you become this amazing Black woman?
I think um, a, a significant one is being community minded, especially growing up in a country and a continent where that's, you know,
Mm.
a big thing.
Yeah,
And I think even now living in the yeah in a more hyper individualistic part of the world, I still carry that with me, just caring about people, whether it's family, whether it's a friend. It's almost second nature
yeah,
to just, and
yeah,
it's always so interesting when people are kind of confused, like, why do you why do you care?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because that's not how they are raised, that's not what they know.
right.
And so I think that is a nice quality to have. And
Yeah,
obviously that's something that I learned in childhood and from the environment that I was in,
yeah,
especially from my mom.
yeah,
My
yeah,
mom is such a people person. She's such a giver. She's very warm, and I think
yeah,
I carry a lot of that. Just yeah, just
yeah,
always trying to, whenever I'm around a person, to make that person feel seen and uh yeah, taken care of, being a good host, being a good friend. Not always perfect,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah, of
you know,
course, of
yeah.
course. Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't leave you, right? No matter where you go, where you land, you'll
Yeah.
always have those needs, wants, desires to experience those positive, experiences from childhood. All right, so as we come to a close, right? What
Mm-hmm.
patterns from childhood? We're asking the audience now, what patterns from your childhood are you intentionally choosing to keep? Right? So we can call them protective factors again. The good things, which aspects of your
Mm,
childhood that were good are you intentionally choosing to keep? And I will say for me, again, it's the love of music and joy,
music. Same. Yeah.
music and joy, and looking for joy in the small things, right? If it's eating something that reminds me of childhood or sharing those meals that we enjoyed in childhood, that tea and the bread and using the metal, cutlery and silverware, I mean, dishes.
Which are now coming back in
Of
trend, by the
course,
way.
of course. And they're costing a lot more now, this is the world
I
we
should
live
actually,
in.
maybe I'll bring some back when I get.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
get one or
Right,
two.
right. Those cups, they kept that tea very hot.
Yeah.
But yes, I think the love of music and joy, this is something that I do want to spread. And I hope, at least before this year wraps up, that I can start making music more of my way to connect people, not just within my family, but beyond that, because it makes me happy if I see a video of the mailman dancing or, the Amazon driver or somebody. There's such a release. And of course, we know that when it comes to trauma, it's a good way to release trauma by through movement, right? So music for
Mm.
sure. So Tafi, do you want to ask the audience a question?
Yes. The next question that we would invite you to reflect on is, when you think back on your childhood, who or what helped you feel safe, seen, or supported, even in difficult moments?
Okay, all right. And the last question I will ask is, looking back now, what protective factors do you recognize that you may not have had a language for at that time, right? So what protective factors do you think you recognize now that you may not have had a language for at that time? Right. So again, I invite especially those who are raising children, working with children, to pay attention to what are the protective factors that this child is exposed to. If it is your child, then what are the protective factors that I'm exposing my child to, or we're exposing our children to? Because these are the things that will make a difference for them down the road. All right, it's been a joy as always.
As always.
It was a bit emotional for me, just remembering and reading the lyrics to some of these songs and thinking about the youth in the podcast before they could dream. But I think this is part of how we heal as well, is by talking about some of our childhood memories. All right.
Absolutely.
So, Taffy, closing comments, words.
I think it was a cool episode. It was just nice to reflect on positive memories and sort of re-embed them into the system. And
Yeah,
like you, I think it was um it's emotional, but also in a good way, in a
yeah,
good way.
yeah,
Um, Especially in these trying times. It's nice to be able to anchor into
yeah,
something.
yeah,
And I don't know about you, but like for me, especially with my fond memories, the images in my brain are so vivid. It's almost like it was yesterday.
yeah,
And so that's a good feeling. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right, as always, it's a pleasure. I look forward to chatting with you soon. Stay well and stay
Stay
present.
well. Bye.
Bye.
I hope this episode added something meaningful to your day or to your life. If you have a family-related story, whether joyful or painful, that you would like to share, please send an email to info@joymeetspain.com or on Instagram @joymeetspainpodcast. Thank you for tuning in and for allowing me to spend this part of your day with you. Please rate and review the podcast wherever you listen to the show. And of course, please subscribe and spread the word to your friends, family, or that cousin who always says our family is crazy. Till next time, stay well, stay kind, and stay present.